personality is not permanent. This is a very important concept.
Personality is not permanent.
Yes. There is truth to visualization, and there is truth to words having
You
energy.
say that as a doctor?
Yes, I do. Yes.
The things that you visualize, that you image yourself, you can be.
Manifesting alert, manifesting alert.
It is.
I don't buy it. Well, hi there. Welcome to episode 352 of Rook. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Don't judge Iranians for wearing masks. Today's episode is a meditation on who we choose to be and narrative identity. We all wear masks, don't we? Social masks, emotional masks. They're the identities we construct to fit the roles we play, to blend into the environments we inhabit, to exercise charm, or to shield ourselves from judgment or harm. For Iranians and members of the diaspora, these masks are often shaped by the weight of history and culture, by expectations of wealth and status, by the longing to conform to an idealized image, and by the scars of a collective past. But what happens when these masks become so intertwined with our narrative identities that we struggle to remember who we are without them? Don't judge Iranians for wearing masks. Now, this is not to exonerate any and all Iranians from facades or to suggest we should not aspire to be our authentic selves, but to understand the masks. They are frequently rooted in a deep and complex past. The trauma of revolution, war, and exile doesn't simply vanish. It lingers in the fabric of our identities, coloring how we see ourselves and how we wish to be seen by others. In the diaspora, the masks often shift to accommodate a new set of challenges, projecting success, wealth, or cultural conformity in an effort to prove we belong or have overcome. But beneath the polished exteriors lie stories of pain and resilience and survival, stories that demand acknowledgement if we want to journey far and if we are to understand who we truly are. Don't judge Iranians for wearing masks. There's power in asking the question, what do our masks reveal about us and what do they conceal? Are they a source of protection or do they imprison us in roles that we never chose? For those of us who straddle the line between cultures rooted in Iranian tradition but shaped by life abroad, the masks can feel both necessary and suffocating. They're the tools we use to manage impressions and navigate expectations, but they can also pull us away from authenticity. So, as we explore this idea of narrative identity, we may ask, how do we reconcile the faces we show the world with the truths that lie beneath? And what would happen if we allowed ourselves to remove any facade altogether? Don't judge Iranians for wearing masks and navigating their way. It's an evolution in the diaspora, and we've traveled a long way. Today, an episode dedicated to narrative identity and the masks we wear with professional coach and personal branding expert Dr. Shahab Anari and certified life coach Tannaz Nouri joining me in the Rook studio. Plus, Pegah is here with some Christmas cheer. It's Christmas Eve, and this is a little gift to you. This is Rook, episode 352. It's December 24, 2024. This is Rook. It is December 24, 2024. I didn't even realize how that would sound
as you said
until
that,
I was saying
the
it.
same thing.
It's also like 6 days from 2025.
I can't believe that.
How weird is that?
Very.
Pir shodim. Dige. It's getting. When is it going to stop? Because you keep getting. I remember thinking. Well, I remember thinking like the year 2000 is going to be crazy, the future, but then 2020 seemed really, like that's the future.
Deal.
Now it's almost 2025. This is, hi there, welcome to episode 352 of Rook. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Salam Dustan Aziz. Durud Basham. I hope you're doing well wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Hello, Smart Pegah.
Hello.
Narrative identity and the masks we wear. What I was just talking about in the essay there, and the title of this episode. Almost nothing to do with the Christmas season. but I mean,
Well, self-reflection at the end of the year.
Perfect. You
That's
see,
what it is.
you weaved in it. But it is something that's germane to, as I was saying in the essay, to Iranians. Not exclusively. I'm not saying only Iranians wear these symbolic masks to fit in or to protect themselves or to project some version of themselves. But when we talk about narrative identity, it's the story that you tell of yourself, sometimes unwittingly, shaped by your experience, shaped by your environment.
Yeah.
And you can't blame, I do not believe we can blame Iranians for being shaped by a very complex history too.
And culture.
And culture.
I think one of the biggest influences for Iranians, at the very least, is, everything that's ingrained and rooted in our culture. I mean, how many times on this program alone have we talked about Taruf and this almost forced politeness? And I'm not saying these are bad things, but these are...
A topic, by the way, that came up last week. We had Sohail Alavi here. Tabak 16, his very popular podcast, The 16th Floor. He was here, and he was talking about how Iranians essentially...
the phone call with...
They sort of lie to each other, present these notions of who they are and what we have to do at that's right, at Mahmoudis or at holiday time, talking to the script we use with our loved ones, whether we believe it or not, that type of thing. And that inspired quite a debate or conversation in the comments as well.
The comments were interesting.
It's an ongoing sort of the number of people who've come on this show and talked about how Iranians don't always present an authentic version of themselves. Some people saying that without assigning any blame to Iranians, saying that this is just the way we've been taught. This is the way we are. Others pushing against that idea. But so today, life coach Tannaz Nouri will be here, and professional coach and branding expert Dr. Shahab Anari returns to the Rook studio.
That's right.
Very interested, very excited to have them both here to talk about this idea of narrative identity and the masks we wear.
Yeah, like I said, self-reflection. Even as you were doing your little your intro, I guess.
Your little essay.
Well, it's a little essay in comparison.
Right. Yeah.
It is shorter.
No, it's okay.
I wasn't saying it in a bad way.
It's okay.
When you were doing your essay, I was reflecting actually, and that's why I was saying self-reflection at the end of the year. So it'll be nice to hear their thoughts and think about at the end of the year all of the ways that I've worn my masks.
Right. Listen, I mean, there's no better time to wear the mask than around the family at Christmas time when we have to fake it or make it. By the way, happy Christmas.
Yes.
To all of those people out there who truly, celebrate Christmas like Iranians, like ourselves.
Iranians, yep, exactly.
I think we talked about this last year, but certainly in my family. Now, I was born in England, grew up in Canada, loving Persian culture, eating my mom's amazing Persian food, all of that. But Christmas time, sacred. We celebrate Christmas. That's right. In every way except perhaps anything to do with Jesus.
Yep.
No offense to those who,
of course.
But
we take the religion out of it.
I know
and
more about being
else.
Jewish because I grew up in a sort of Jewish community when we came to Canada than I do really about. Although growing up in England, did you know this? At the time I grew up in England, you had to say the Lord's Prayer every morning.
Oh.
At school.
Interesting.
At school, we would do the Lord's Prayer. It's almost like some countries in the world where people have to do. So I know it.
Do you still remember it?
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I can do the whole thing. Yeah. So, but at Christmas time, the tree, the trimmings, the presents, the stockings, we have all that. And my mother insists still. My mother, Tabrizi, one of the best cooks in the world. I've talked about her food. She insists on making the fucking turkey still.
Okay, is it just the turkey? Because
no offense to the turkeys. No one likes turkey. Who likes turkey?
I'm not a fan.
Nobody. I don't know anyone who's like, I can't wait to eat turkey. I mean, you? Oh, Super P likes turkey.
Wow.
Really?
I
It's so
wouldn't have guessed that.
dry
Okay,
and
so I'll
unforgiving.
one up that.
Yeah.
My sister and I always make fun of my mom around the holidays because she gets really, really excited. And same thing. I mean, fully Iranian family here. We don't have anyone in the family who, truly celebrates Christmas in that sense. But when it comes to December 1st, my mom has Christmas music playing in the car. Like, she's super pumped, excited, all of that. So this morning I was talking to her and she's like, I'm gonna make fish tonight because you have to have fish the night on Christmas Eve. And I was like, is that even a thing? Is that real?
Is it a thing?
I don't know. Apparently.
I have to look that up.
I don't know. Something
Did
about
Jesus
having
do something
fish
with fish
before the
before
holidays
the-
or something like that. I don't know. But all of a sudden today.
Roham,
that's,
do you like turkey? See? Tina, the photo and video queen. No, nobody.
No.
I mean, and yet
once a year.
I actually said this
but
to my
that's it.
mother this year. I was like, we don't need to do, my father, has passed away, obviously my beautiful late father, but he didn't like turkey. Like no one.
So who likes turkey?
Because
in
we
your
have
house?
to, because it's Christmas. We have the turkey and Brussels sprouts and carrots. I mean, it's a
Okay.
disaster. It's like, and this is from a woman who makes like this
The best
incredible
Persian
or
food,
Sabzi or Fesenjun or whatever. Yeah, we have to
I'd
eat
much
this
rather
turkey.
have Fesenjun tonight.
And
than
by the
fish.
way, you don't just eat turkey for one day.
Yeah, because
The
you have all
fucking
the
it's so big
leftovers.
that you have
That's
to eat it for a week, and it's dry. And again, I don't want to offend the turkeys out there who are wondering why they attack on Christmas
Do you have
Eve.
any?
I'm trying to save your lives. Yeah.
Do you have any special Christmas traditions that you guys do with the family? Anything that's come up all these years?
Yes. We do a full ritual. Like we do the stockings and the presents in the morning. We do the turkey. We do, we usually have a card game.
Okay.
Um,
Or like a.
BB a peak.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Well, do you know what BB a peak is?
Yes. The
Queen of Spades.
Yeah.
So it's like hearts.
Okay.
So that, yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
That sounds like
You?
a fun Christmas. Yeah, I mean, we do like the big dinner the night before, and
I don't think this
Christmas presents in the
conversation is
morning.
interesting to anyone.
Yeah, I know. This is just
you
our
and I.
holiday
Yeah,
tradition.
people are like, we came for the narrative identity of the masks
Exactly.
we wear.
Yes.
Well, we're trying to be our authentic selves. and
We are.
explain-
That's
yeah.
right.
So anyway, happy Christmas to those of you out there, and we also play the Christmas music, and
Yes.
we get
of
into
course.
it's 2 days of the year, Christmas and Boxing Day, and even Boxing Day now is just like let's go and
It's more
buy
shopping.
things. Those are the 2 days that the family gets to really be together.
That's right.
That's not true for you. You're constantly with the
I'm always with family,
yeah.
but
You're much more.
yes. But those 2
Every
days in
weekend is
particular-
Christmas at the
yeah,
Ganji
at the Ganji
house.
house.
Yeah.
That's right.
Very nice. Lovely Persian family. Before we get to our guests, Dr. Shahab Anari and Tannaz Nouri, speaking of the gift of Christmas, you could give the gift of tickets to Rook Live 4.
That's right.
Rook Live 4 coming. It's been announced. The tickets are on sale February 6th. Thursday, February 6th, 2025 is just about 5 weeks away. City Playhouse Theatre, just north of Toronto, Thornhill, Ontario. An amazing lineup that we're really excited about. This is where we do Rook in front of a live audience. Shohriar Dashlu, Fardad Farazad, Dang Show, Siamak Emer, Ghazal Akhundzadeh,
Yeah.
Anahita, our very own Anahita Nayabi, dancing, Maso Mortazavi, you,
I will be there.
DJ Blanche Echo. We're very excited about this. Now, I can say as a window into the Iranian interests, the Iranian audience, the VIP tickets, which we increased. It's a bigger theater. We have a big block of VIP tickets. I think 90% gone. I think there's one row, a few tickets left. So the VIP tickets almost gone. Premium tickets are still there.
Yeah.
But we encourage you to go to you can go to our Instagram, which is at Rook Media, and just go to the link in the bio, or go to the City Playhouse website, I guess.
Yep.
Or go to our website, rookmedia.com.
That's right.
And has your family bought their tickets yet?
They haven't actually.
I don't think they have.
They have not.
Maybe there's something under the tree.
I was gonna say
Maybe they'll buy your ticket. to
Yeah. Maybe I've put it under the tree. Who knows?
Even that's my new dictum. Members of the Rook team have to buy
That's
their
what
own
you're
ticket
buying.
to get into Rook
Yes.
Live. Yeah.
Exactly.
So we encourage you, if you're in the Greater Toronto area, come. We promise no turkey. There is a wine and food reception afterwards that's
right.
included in the tickets, where you hang out and you get to even meet some of the performers and stuff. So again, if you haven't got your tickets yet, and especially if you want some good seats, hurry. Rook Live 4, again, from our website or from our Instagram page, you can link to it and get tickets.
That's right.
All right,
Great last minute gift if anyone's still looking.
That's right. It's really last minute.
It
By
is.
the time they see this,
Yeah.
it's actually Christmas Day.
That's
But you can order it online.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot, put it
Print
in a box.
You can print it.
Print it, put
Yeah.
it in a box, wrap it.
That's right.
Hand it to your loved one.
Exactly.
Here's what I got you. Let's go to our guests, and we'll talk to you on the other side.
Sounds good.
Here we go. All right, let's get to our feature panel on this episode. How do we see ourselves? And how is the way we are seen determined? What is our narrative identity, or the identity we form by integrating life experiences into an internalized, evolving story of the self that provides us with a sense of unity and a purpose in life? What are the cultural or political or social influences that affect that narrative identity? And what about the concept of symbolic or behavioral masks? Concept of people wearing masks or pretending to be someone they're not is closely linked to narrative identity, as both involve the way individuals construct and present their sense of self. And where do Iranians fit into all this? With a history of trauma and a socialized desire for status, as we've discussed many times on this program, it's time for a Rook panel. Let me introduce our esteemed guest. She is a certified life coach dedicated to empowering individuals in their journey of personal growth and self-discovery. Tannaz Nouri was born and raised in Tehran. Tannaz holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and a master's in executive MBA. After moving to Canada 7 years ago, she pursued further education and now runs a company called Coaching Valley. Tannaz Nouri is with me in the Rook studio. Hello.
Hello. Hi, thank you for having me today. And it's a great honor to be in this prestigious studio and this prestigious platform. And I'm super excited.
It's great to have you here, Coach. Thank you for doing this. And he is our returning champion, an Iranian-Canadian public speaker, popular social media presence as a professional coach and personal branding expert who preaches and practices what he calls positive psychology. I'll also never let you forget or him forget about the fact that he was #1 in the concours. Dr. Shahab Anari. Hello, sir.
Hi, Jian. Thanks for having me back on the show.
And #1 of everything, not just #1 in some category, right? You're #1 in Iran. That's all I want to know.
No, that was just 1 year, and I was #1 in Tajrobi, so not in everything.
That's a big deal. I don't know what it means, but Tajrobi, like experience? No.
Like people who want to go like study medicine or dentistry.
Tajrobi.
Yes.
Okay. I'm thrilled to have you both here because this conversation around narrative identity, the term and the idea of wearing masks was actually inspired by seeing you do a talk, Tannaz, intersects with something we've been talking about on the show, which is that Iranians seem to, in their desire for status, seem to oftentimes, or sometimes, some Iranians want to present themselves as something that they may not necessarily be. Of course, Iranians are not the only people in the world doing this, but because it's the nature of our show to talk about what happens in the diaspora, we often, for example, have talked about the fact that there's a desire to drive an expensive car to show a certain sense of oneself, even if they don't have the financial background to be driving that kind of car. Is that what narrative identity and masking is about?
So I'm gonna talk about narrative identity a little bit later. First, I'm gonna talk about this mask. The mask I was talking about in that speech, it was specifically about because I grew up in Iran. And in that culture, with that history, with that background, with the parents I had, and all those criteria were affecting the narrative I was telling myself, made me to wear a mask. What type of mask it was? Because to be honest, I had very, very controlling parents, and they were expecting me to be the best in the school. For example,
Number one in the concours?
actually, yes. But if, like, I'm sure that the audience are Iranian, then score that you get in school, if it was not beast 20, my mom would say, 19, it's not really good.
Right.
Who got the 20? Like, comparing, and made me to be perfectionist. And if I was going out of that track, I was feeling I'm not enough.
Right.
I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. So because I wanted to actually get the approval from the society, from my parents, from the friends, like wherever I was, I had to get the approval. So I had to wear the mask, the mask that it was not me, even though I didn't know that it's not me. I just thought that, okay, I have to be perfect. I have to do this. I have to, for example, act as a good daughter. The definition of the good daughter is this.
Hang on a second. So you were not your authentic self, as we say, but you didn't realize that you weren't your authentic self.
That's true.
So what was the eureka moment where you go, holy, I'm wearing a mask?
Okay, so it's very, very long story, because I was working on myself a lot. And because I was trying to be perfect, I was wearing the mask, and I thought that, okay, being perfect, it means this. You have to be perfect in the school. You have to be perfect in the job. You have to be perfect in the major in the school that you choose, or about, like, related to my parents, friends, everything. So it was kind of like drowning me. It was a kind of like battle for me. Even though I was working so hard, I was not happy with myself. So I was questioning myself, what's wrong with me? And even though I'm trying to do my best, still I'm not happy with myself. So it was a long journey, but I'm gonna go to the part of my immigration. When I immigrated, I had the chance
to Canada?
Yes, 7 years ago. So I had the chance really to be with myself, far from the culture, far from the history, far from the whatever was trying to define me as I am. So the distance the gap happened in my life, I realized that, okay, I feel like there is something else I can be, which I like more. And that moment, I would say I understand that I was wearing the mask all these times.
So the mask was determined by the circumstances that you were in. A change of the circumstances changed the mask, or allowed you to take off the mask. Is this feels? I mean, Tannaz and I were different people. We're had different upbringings. Different parts of the world. And yet I relate to your story, the expectation of perfection and the desire to show that I'm something. Is this something common, Dr. Shahab?
It is absolutely common. However, there is another side to it, which is the individual factors, meaning aside from the influence of circumstances, family, culture, history, which are very important influences, sometimes people wear masks. They ride the luxury car. They put on expensive brands like luxury clothing to fulfill certain needs. For example, social acceptance. They drive the luxury car to signal to other people that they're successful, so that they will be accepted by other people.
Right.
And it's not limited to Iranian people or immigrants.
Right.
It is something that happens in a lot of countries, a lot of societies, especially in countries and societies where people favor materialistic wealth.
But it's interesting because what the story that Tannaz just told, it's something that's happening to her. Circumstances are affecting her, and she says, unbeknownst to her, she was wearing this mask. In some cases, I've told the story before of a friend of mine who drives a Benz SUV despite living in a bachelor apartment and not having much of an income, because she says, I need to show I'm successful because that helps me get more gigs as a chef. She's not, that person is not wearing a mask unwittingly or unknowingly, but on purpose.
Yes. Yes.
What's the difference?
Exactly. That's the whole point. I believe people wear masks because of two categories of reasons. Individualistic factors, meaning they're pursuing to attain a goal, like impacting other people, just like the example that you shared, or meeting their needs. And also the second category is what I call the systemic factors, meaning the effect of culture, the influence of their families. But let's not forget that we are not slaves to the impact of the circumstances. We are not slaves to the impact of the culture of our family or the expectations of our parents. I'm not saying that we can change everything or we are like superheroes who can do anything, but let's not forget that we have some choice in how we want to respond to the circumstances. And a lot of times when immigration happens, because of the change in geography, there's a chance for us to look back at ourselves. There's a chance of being reborn, as you wish, right? And just like Tannaz shared, she got a chance to take a pause and look at her values. What am I pursuing? What is important to me? How do I want to be in this world? And those types of defining moments provide the opportunity for us to redefine who we are and how we want to be in the world.
Is wearing a mask, I mean, it sounds like a negative thing, right? You're not your authentic self, you're wearing a mask. So if someone's choosing to do that to a certain extent, or resign to it, these are the cultural factors, these are the gender roles I've been given, so I'm gonna play this out the way I have to and wear the mask. Obviously, no, we're not going to assign blame, but it does feel a bit sad.
There is a lot of negative connotations and negative outcomes associated with wearing a mask. As a professional coach, I'm not a sociologist or social scientist. So as a professional coach, the way I look at it is that when you're wearing a mask, you're pursuing something external. It's not coming from inside of you. It's not aligned with your core values. You're just doing it to put on a facade, to impress people, to pursue something that is not authentic to you. So it comes with the baggage, and it is, in some sense, negative. But the fact that a lot of people are not aware that they are putting on a mask, they have been indoctrinated by the cultural norms and the culture of their family and so on and so forth, makes us want to not judge them, of course, and also to empathize with them. But eventually, when you're wearing a mask, you're not being authentic, and the way you're behaving is not coming from within you. So you need to expect that you will face negative emotions eventually.
Tannaz, what I've been reading about narrative identity, it always says, most of that, some high percentage of that is formed in the first years of your life, that in your adolescence. So with something like perfectionism, you have to get 20 out of 20 or you're a failure. How do you kick that if that's been in you since you were a little kid? Or have you kicked it?
Okay, the fact is that burden of perfectionism, I was carrying it for years and years. I wouldn't say that I got rid of it right now. Maybe I worked on it, I made it better, because I had the chance to really observe it from distance, to see that, like, first of all, the good thing, it was nobody was supervising me, nobody was watching me, nobody was expecting me anything that I need to fulfill it, that I need to meet those expectations. The person that was responsible, it was me. So the good thing is
this is when you moved here.
When I moved here.
You seem to be latently saying that if you stayed in Iran, you would have never taken off the mask.
I would say it would never happen, unfortunately. Or the chance of changing that would be possible if I really started, deeply focusing on myself, but still I would need that distance from maybe the parents, families, relatives, or even
almost impossible.
Yeah, like I need to isolate myself somehow there.
Right. So you were I cut you off. I'm sorry. So you were talking about how how migration allowed you the space to sort of see yourself, to zoom out.
Right.
And then.
So when I had a chance to observe myself from distance and realize that my values, my core values, as Dr. Anari said, it's not similar to what is expecting from me. Like what is expected from me, from the society and parents. So I decided, like, first of all, I found the awareness of the story I'm telling myself, it's not what I like. And I got familiar with the narrative identity definition. And what is narrative identity? It's the story that you're telling yourself. You used to tell yourself about who you are, what is important for you, and how you have to live, how to have to show yourself to the others and to yourself to make the character and personality for you. And I realized that narrative identity, it's possible to change, to reframe it, to write it again. And when you have the chance to write that story again, it's better to find out the way that it works for you. Like whatever is not serving you anymore, you have to put it aside. If somebody
and
living,
how good are you doing it? How's that going for you?
If I want to go back, like I have to just fly right now. It's very good, very good. Like you
really?
mentioned,
you're not a perfectionist at all anymore?
I am a combination of everything, but I came to the point that I love myself in the way that I am because I found my own values. I'm working on them. Okay. I'm like making huge progress. And honestly, the point is that when you find out what is serving you, actually it means that your like true self, your authentic self, it's meeting your not like your persona.
This might be a weird thing for me to say, but why should I believe your story of yourself? In other words, Dr. Shahab, how reliable are we as narrators of our own story? In some ways, it's like when people say the way you see yourself in the mirror is not the way everybody else in the world sees you. So sometimes you'll see a photograph and say, that doesn't look like me. And everybody goes, actually, that's the way you look. You know, we don't necessarily see ourselves. How much can we be counted on to be able to tell the authentic story of ourselves?
I would say it depends on your level of...
another nuanced answer.
Honestly...
You can't help yourself.
Let me give you an analogy. Of course, you're asking me this question, but suppose you were asking this question from a 5-year-old child, right?
Okay.
So that's one perspective. And suppose you ask this question from Buddha, right? That would be another question. It honestly depends on the stages of consciousness, stages of awareness that people go through. So it depends. If people just focus on a certain narrative, a certain story about their past, it's not completely reliable. But if they take a holistic view, if they take off their blinders and, take a 360 view of the real truth with the capital T, then that could be reliable. So in a sense, the story that we're telling ourselves right now is not necessarily considering everything. It is a slice of reality. If we are not happy with it, we're always able to change it.
Do our circumstances shape our stories, or does the way we narrate our lives shape what they become? If somebody's walking around saying to themselves and to others, I'm badass, I'm a tough guy, or something like that, is that what that person realizes then in their life?
I would say it's a mix of both and genetics. And that's rooted in science, by the way. It's something that has been studied extensively in positive psychology. So the way our results manifest in our lives. Take the guy who's saying
I'm badass. Give the example of that guy.
So
with your three pieces of it.
Yeah, genetics, circumstances, and choices.
Okay.
So part of it is genetics, right? And that's not the part that we can change that much. Of course, there are certain studies that we can change a little bit of our genetics, but we won't go there. So part of it is genetics. Let's say that's not changeable. But the other thing is circumstances. That guy who says, I'm a badass, part of his understanding of his self is what he hears from the people around him, right? What he has been indoctrinated to believe based on the feedback from his parents, from his school teachers, from his very close relatives and close friends, right? And the other thing is choice. Obviously, you and I and everybody else have the choice to view ourselves in a certain way. For example, that badass guy, if he chooses to act kind and help an old woman across the road, then he can choose to view himself as a kind guy and not a fierce, tough guy with no emotions, right? So that's the part where the choice comes in. And that's the beauty of that percentage of our behavior which is dependent on our choices. Because at every moment in time, we can choose to behave in a certain way. We can choose to think. I
like this.
In a certain
the part
way.
I like of this is, and this is what I thought about when you were talking, when you did your talk, Tannaz, is what you seem to be saying when it comes to narrative identity, the story we tell, is that it can be or is ever evolving. It's never over. It's not, the story doesn't end if you hit 50 or, if you go bankrupt or that story can continue to evolve. Would that be right?
Exactly. And that is very much associated with the fact that personality is not permanent. This is a very important concept.
Personality is not permanent.
Yes. For so long, people had believed that personality is permanent.
An outgoing person is an outgoing person.
An extrovert person is an extrovert person. Somebody who is tough or who is a juvenile delinquent, right? They are a criminal by nature. In Victor Hugo, there is a line that says, a person who is bad can never be made right? So for so long, people believe that your personality cannot be changed. But during the past few decades, there has been multiple studies proving that we can change our personalities to a certain degree. To a certain degree.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that I can change into an elephant right now, of course. I cannot change into anything that I want to. But to a certain degree, I can change myself. And there are numerous stories about that. Just think of yourself. I can think of myself. Do I have the exact same personality as I had 30 years ago, 20 years ago? Have my values changed? Of course. Have my goals changed? Of course. Have my tendencies changed? Of course. So personalities do change, and we have at least some ability to change our narrative as well.
I want to come to you, Tannaz, on the notion of trauma, but just as a sidebar really quick, because you're a branding expert, what's the difference between, so much in the social media age has been made of branding, personal branding. You are your brand. Everybody has become a brand, right? You are what you show people on Instagram or on TikTok. What is the difference between narrative identity and personal branding?
That's a great question. Narrative identity is all about the story that you tell yourself about yourself. Personal branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So narrative identity is what you are telling yourself about your past or your identity.
How often are they the same thing?
So that's a very good, very important question. The way I see personal branding is through authenticity. So I define a personal brand is your unique promise of value. And that should be and has to be authentic to you. Because if you put on a facade, if you put on a mask, if you put on a face that's not truly you, people will eventually find out. You cannot portray your true self if you're faking it. So if you put on a personal brand that is truly you, which goes back to how well you know yourself, how well you know your strengths, how well you know how you can bring value to the world, that personal brand is aligned with your true self and will be authentic to you. And it's the best way of doing the personal branding.
That's so interesting.
It is.
I'm thinking of lots of examples in my head right now. Tannaz, where does trauma fit into this? I mean, you started off telling your story. For a lot of Iranians, I mean, for all Iranians, no one has been left untouched by the last 50 years or beyond. Revolution, war, crisis, high stakes risk, etc. Where does that fit into the development of narrative identity or to wearing masks?
Absolutely, yes, because as we talked about circumstances and whatever is in the place that you are growing up, like as you said, the war, the grief, the sadness, the loss, and the view that you have to materialistic things, and specifically in the culture that we have the tendency to unfortunately show off whatever we have, and we kind of value ourselves and wearing that mask to show us, okay, I am wearing this mask to show how valuable, to show how prestigious I am, which is coming from that culture, which is coming from that history. And so definitely the traumas we have, which I would say is a generational trauma, is passing down, and we are not aware of it, and our parents are not aware of it. That's why we are carrying that narrative and we are telling that story to ourselves, which is not true, because it's coming from the trauma and it's coming from all those stories that your parents told you.
Give me an example of what is part of that story that we're telling ourselves that's not true.
Yes. So, for example, I was telling myself I have to be, for example, we talked about being dentist. And my parents really wanted me to be the dentist. And I was telling myself, okay, because if I want to have the social status, if I want to fit in that country, in that society, I have to be the dentist with that income, with that name, like everything. So I tried so hard to reach to that point. And it was not true. It was not me. It was not authentic me. And I really didn't want to live that life. So this was the trauma of I would say my parents, mostly my mom. She wanted to become a dentist and she didn't know that. And she, I don't know, for some reason, she didn't become a dentist. And subconsciously, she put it in my head, if you become a dentist, you will have this status in the country and people will respect you and you will make money. And if you make money, you will be independent in the country that men are dominant. And then after that, you become happy. Like, everything is kind of connected to each other. So in my subconscious part, I thought that, okay, if I want to be a successful woman, if I want to be independent and show myself who I am, so I have to be this. But I could be something else and still be, I don't know, the person who has this nice and prestigious status in the country, to be independent.
If somebody comes to you now, you're as a professional coach, and she says, I'm a dentist, and my family relies on the income I make, and I like having the income I make, and I'm good at being a dentist, and it feels like a mask. It's not me. I don't want to be doing it. It's not who it doesn't feel authentic, but I'm stuck in this now. What do you say?
It's very, very difficult situation, I would say. I would ask lots of questions from that person. what are you looking for? What do you want to be? What is the purpose of your life? These are the questions I was asking myself as well, because as you remember the speech I had, the mask I was wearing, it was very beautiful from outside. And I had a very
Right. People are validating it or telling you you're doing the right thing by wearing that mask.
Yes.
Right.
And I was happy with that. And I thought that this is the happiness. This is the definition of happiness, because I was actually getting the validation from the external things, but I was not happy. And so if someone comes to me and if they see the life as I see the life, it means that if I see the happiness in something else, which is being me, being the authentic me, if they see the life like me, I would say you have to work on it. You have to find what is serving you right now. If you're wearing the mask as a dentist and still you're making good money and the family relying on that income, but where you standing yourself in the life? Because I believe that we have the chance to just live once. Why, I would say we are not responsible to pleasing others. Like, you are responsible for your own life.
That's a tough lesson to learn too. How much, Dr. Shahab, is the wearing of the mask and the stories that we tell about self-protection?
A lot of it is about self-protection. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I'm sure you're familiar with the concept. So Abraham Maslow was a famous psychologist. Many decades ago, he talked about the fact that human beings, all of human beings, they have certain needs. And Maslow put the needs on a ladder, on a hierarchy. And the point is, once the basic physiological and safety needs are met, people will go looking for belonging and self-esteem. So a lot of the things that people do is to fulfill their needs of belonging. So they do certain things to gain acceptance from others because they fear rejection. So it is for their protection. You're totally right. So a lot of the masks that we wear are intended to protect us from rejection from others, from being, from feeling less than others, from being compared to others in an inferior way. Of course, a large part of it is self-protection.
It's funny because I can think of circumstances where the inverse is also true, where someone is a young guy in order to show that he's not a conformist, wears the mask of a rebel. I'm going to go and I'm going to be tear gassed in the streets and be a rebellious protester or something, and you kind of know that person's a middle class kid who's going to go home and sleep in a comfortable bed. That's a different kind of
that's the
imperative,
same
but it's also a mask, right?
That's the same thing. That's a need. Again, going back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, after physiological and safety needs, the basic needs, people go after belonging and self-esteem. The example that I gave previously was belonging. The example that you gave was self-esteem, was self-worth. People want to show their worth, and the strategy that some of them take is to do certain things.
But when we talk
society.
about authenticity versus conformity, what I'm saying is, in the effort to achieve a public display of authenticity,
You're right.
they're wearing a mask in some case. I mean, I'm probably getting too into the weeds trying to figure that all out. But are there individuals or movements, say within the Iranian diaspora, that challenge cultural norms and encourage authenticity? Is that something we can look to? In other words, for example, based on your upbringing and your situation, does the Women Life Freedom movement, does what happened after Mahsa Amini, does that somehow fuel a movement towards more authenticity away from what the expectations of a culture?
So, Jian, I just want to say that like I want to flash back to the manifestation thing, even though you don't agree with that. But I believe that if we know our self-worth, we know our strength, and right now we're talking about Mahsa Amini's like the history I had at that time. I believe that women have to know their value and their worth and their strength, and this needs to like coming to take off the mask they're carrying, and we talk about, because they're carrying the trauma, they're carrying the mask, they're carrying the like the strength that is taken from them, and they don't see that. And if we want to make change, and if we believe that we can make change, we can make change. Dale Carnegie, in the book, I don't remember which
How to
book.
Win Friends and Influence People?
I'm not sure it was in that book or not, but he said that if you are crazy enough that you believe that you can beat the things that you visualize, that you image yourself, you can be.
Be manifesting alert.
It is.
I don't buy it. I get the part where you have to, like, I'm definitely on board with no one gets to their dream unless they visualize and want the dream. But the part where it's like, I'm going to manifest myself being a rich person.
I have lots of
explanation.
I have lots of explanation for that. I told you I have the chemical engineering. So whoever studied chemical engineering, they know that you have to be good in chemistry and physics and maths. Like, you have to be good in them. First of all, like, when I chose this major, I was good in chemistry. I was not very good in physics and maths. But after a while, right now, when I'm like flashing back to those experiences, to those things I studied, I realized that there was the reason behind. I had to be good in math, physics, and chemistry to right now understand how to align and how to put together quantum physics, and all those things
but that's
I learned.
Not manifesting.
That's
is. No.
Let me tell
being
you.
Smart. That you were the architect of a path towards something that you want.
Okay, I didn't manifest that. I'm thinking that I can explain these manifestation with the science base. So that really needs another interview session that we explain that. But there are science behind it. Manifestation is not just like visualizing something that, okay, I'm gonna be rich, I'm beautiful, I'm enough. Like, these are really superficial things. But if you go deeply, scientifically, like by the math, by the formula, by the chemistry, all these things, you can see that human are the energy. And if you can change the frequency somehow, which we will talk about it if we have a time, then you can manifest.
Can I ask you both
yes.
then? The flip side of that is harboring negative thoughts. I have this with a close friend of mine. I have this saying, like, it started off kind of sardonic or fun, but where I say everything's a disaster. We'll talk about myself, right? Everything's a disaster. But then sometimes it really, I'll get into a car crash, and then I'll lose $20 on the road, and my food won't come, and everything's a disaster. And I have another friend who says, don't say that. Stop saying that, because you say that and you're manifesting somehow that your life will be less than happy, or you're nodding. You actually...
I agree,
I always
because
say...
words has the energy. Like I told you, if really we find time, not today, but I can show you with the numbers and everything that words has the energy. The way that you're thinking has the energy. Why I'm talking about like narrative identity really matters. And I really actually talk about it in my speech, that I said that whatever you think, you become. What does that mean? It means that all the neurons in your brain making the new pathway, because your thoughts has the energy. And if you're changing that energy level...
But there's a great tradition of great writers, famous comedians, people who traffic in, who are cynical or self-deprecating, or doctor, do you agree that if I say everything's a disaster, I'm making my own bed?
It does have an impact. It does have an impact. I don't necessarily agree that if you think about something, it will 100% happen, but that's another discussion. There is truth to that, though. But going back to positive psychology, because I want to reference everything
There's truth to what?
There is truth to visualization, and there is truth to words having
You
energy.
say that as a doctor?
Yes, I do. Yes.
What's the truth? What's the...
I'm just...
Okay, go ahead.
That's what I was...
We're going to get to positive psychology. Okay.
Positive psychology,
Yeah.
yes. There is a theory in positive psychology. It's called broaden and build theory. And it talks about the fact that positive emotions broaden your view and builds your resources, including your creativity. So when you speak positive words, this is a proven theory in positive psychology, you broaden your perspective and you become more creative, you find more solutions, you notice certain things that can help you find ways to get to your goals. So we say positive emotions broaden your view, negative emotions narrow your view. So yes, in that sense, I believe there is science backing the fact that words have energy. But for me, it doesn't mean that it changes your vibration or you become connected to
It just feels fake to me. It feels like the old SNL sketch, Stuart Smiley. I am good enough. I'm a good person. I'm good enough. Yeah, this sort of self-validation thing. I know I'm not taking away from people who I know the importance of words, but sometimes that can feel fake to me. That if we just keep repeating mantras about how we're good and life is going to be great, that partly it feels fake to me because some of the people I know who do that are miserable.
Yes.
They're miserable and they spend all day on Instagram saying, feel good about yourself, happiness.
That's what I said. Part of it is true. So words have energy, but at the same time, you can't change into an elephant by saying affirmations that I'm an elephant, right? So part of it is true. If you take into account that you can get to your goals faster by being positive, that's what makes sense. So avoid using negative words, avoid using negative sentences, and put that energy into becoming more creative.
Hard for me,
right?
I'll try my best. But it does lead me to where I wanted to end off with this, because I know this was also part of your talk, where you believe a lot of this, when it comes to narrative identity and shedding the masks, is about self-love. Seriously.
Yes.
So talk to us about that.
Yes, of course. The things that happened, I told you, I worked on myself a lot. Like socially, study-wise, if I say, and characteristically, like everything. Even though I was going to lots of like Maulana's classes or being and live at the present from Eckhart Tolle classes, like everything. I was trying to do my best to feel that emptiness I was feeling in myself. And I couldn't find it. And I was telling myself, as you said, I am enough, I am beautiful, I am worthy, I'm doing my best. But those were fake for me and it didn't work for me. Since I immigrated to Canada and the time that I had a time like to find that close relationship with myself, to find the true myself and get the good relationship with myself, it means that you accepting yourself as who you are, with your dark side and with your bright side. And when you accept yourself, it means that you start loving yourself. When you love yourself, the shift that's I'm talking about is happening. You don't need to be perfect. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you're saying that I'm beautiful, sometimes you fake it. But if you become to the level of real self-love, honestly, every morning I look at myself, I'm getting excited. Oh my God, look at you. I'm telling you, like every morning I wake up, what a life I have. It's beautiful.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. And this is, I believe that it's another level, which I really want to talk about it, because it needs repetition. Yeah. As Dr. Anari talked about, if you say, I am enough, I am beautiful, I do this, I do that, these affirmations, these mantras doesn't work unless, first of all, repetition. Second of all, you have to start believing that. You have to work on your inner thoughts. Like, it comes from within, not from like just talk about it.
I'm too critical a thinker. I can't look in the mirror and go, look at you.
But you got
your nose is huge.
You got two times the prize for being the most handsome somewhere.
I did get called the most one of the most beautiful Canadians.
Yes.
It was clearly a mistake. They made a mistake
No.
twice.
You have to work on the self-love.
Thoughts on self-love, Shahab?
Of course, part of getting away from the mask and getting to authenticity is first self-awareness, being aware of the fact that we are putting on a mask and it's not who we truly are. And that needs some kind of defining moment in our life. For example, for Tannaz, it was immigration. For somebody else, maybe it's a breakup of a relationship. For somebody else, it's something else. But we need to become self-aware. And then self-compassion, just like Tannaz shared. Just being compassionate toward ourselves, loving ourselves in spite of all our shortcomings. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. We all have the good side and the dark side. So self-compassion, self-love is absolutely one part of the journey toward authenticity. And then I believe the other part is becoming courageous enough to be vulnerable, to show our whole self to the world. And that's the scary part, because everybody just wants to put on the highlights reel and the facade and everything. But when you become comfortable with yourself and you love yourself enough and you have a strong enough self-esteem, then you're comfortable with showing your whole self to the world.
You're a professional coach.
I am.
Is authenticity good for business?
It is. Just going back to the concept of personal branding, when you think
like
about
showing your whole self.
Exactly.
I mean, that goes back to the person driving the Benz that doesn't have that barely has an apartment, right?
That's putting on a facade.
Yes.
But
so if she's showing her whole self, it's better for business, you think?
So, personal branding, just talking
Yes.
about business, personal branding is showing your unique promise of value authentically. So, for example, just talking about business, think about Sir Richard Branson from Virgin.
Yes.
He's truly himself. He may seem like crazy to some people because of the things that he does, the words that he uses, the language that he uses, but he's truly himself. Is it good for business? I think so. Look, he's a billionaire, but he definitely attracts certain people and repels certain people.
Yeah.
So, if somebody is struggling financially, do they have to drive a Benz? Will driving a Benz, which is inauthentic to them, help them? No. Because if they put on their true self to the world, based on their core values, for example, if they're a humble person, if they're a kind person, if they project those parts of themselves and not rely on the Benz to carry the weight, then they will eventually attract the right people who share the same values, and their business will eventually take off.
Beautiful answer. Tannaz, you would say, I'm sure you agree, but do you want a final word?
Yeah, actually, it's very a good point, because as Dr. Anari said, when you are true yourself, you find the audience, you catch the people that resonate with your stories, what you feel, what you believe. And that's your niche. Exactly, that's your niche. You don't need to satisfy. You don't need to cover all the society or all the market. You just need to cover whatever works for you, whatever satisfy you as you. Because honestly, I believe that it's about me. And if I'm working for me. And I'm working fully for me. And if people see that, they will come to me because they want to be themselves. Like, this is the things I'm doing. That's my purpose. That's my mission.
It's a really great pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot. Everything isn't a disaster. Most things, yeah, but not everything.
Just listen to your voice. Just look at all the
calming,
achievements, right?
mellifluous tones. It really, in all seriousness, thank you for doing this. Thank you for the inspiration to do this
Thank you so
panel,
much.
and it's been really thought provoking, and I've learned a lot, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of feedback we'll share with you. Thank you.
It was an honor. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. There you go. Narrative identity and the masks we wear. Shahab Anari, Tannaz Nouri.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I think there was a couple of things that really stood out to me. First one, when Dr. Shahab Anari mentioned that personality is not permanent. That made me...
Right. That was something I was pushing back against. Seems crazy.
It seems great.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just, it is something that you hear a lot where, people can't change and personality is personality and you can't change people and that sort of thing. But then I also think to a certain degree, when we were talking about at the beginning of the show, self-reflection, things like that, I think if you try and through lived experiences, through value changes, through all sorts of different things, I think there are changes to your personality, maybe unwillingly even sometimes. Like I was thinking
You
about...
can change your behavior, for sure, I believe.
Right.
You can change your beliefs. Changing personality.
But don't those affect your personality? Like your values, your beliefs, your behavior,
Do
all
they?
of these things?
If you're a gregarious personality, you change your beliefs, you're suddenly not gregarious? Outgoing?
Maybe some personalities. Like some personality traits. But it was just, when...
I feel that you've changed your personality.
I think
You've become
so.
a meaner person.
I've become the Grinch.
No, oh, you do believe you've changed your personality.
I do. Not that I've changed it, but I think that...
How has it changed?
I think it has changed because of me evolving, because of my life experiences, because of things that have happened to me. Because
Your
of my
personality
values.
has changed, though?
Yeah, because...
You've changed. We change. We evolve. I believe that
Definitely.
for sure. But your personality has changed.
It's funny because I
Pegah, the
actually-
leader, the Pegah who takes control of situations. Pegah.
Those things haven't changed.
No, that's your personality, right?
But I think I used to be more outgoing than I am now. That's one part of my personality that I think has definitely changed.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Maybe.
Who am I to disagree with Dr. Shahab Anari? What else? What did you think of the manifesting thing?
Manifesting to become an elephant and you can't. I was chuckling at that. I have thoughts on manifestation. I don't know if I necessarily am a fan or believe in it. I do believe in not being overly negative. Like everything's a disaster. I don't know.
It is, but okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
I agree, but the world's in shambles. But I don't.
No,
I don't
just
know,
my life.
I don't
The
know
world
if
is
I-
fine. Yeah.
I don't know if I walk around saying that or believe that you should always be, putting negative energy or words or whatever out there. But I also don't believe in the opposite of it, where if I stand in front of a mirror all day and say just positive, incredible things, then only incredible things. will
Not negative energy towards others, just oneself.
Just yourself.
Self-deprecation. No, really. It's like, I don't necessarily, I agree that I don't want to put negative energy out there in terms of, I really don't like that actually when I see that in social media or where people are attacking each other and things like that. It's not, as you know, not my vibe at all. But self-loathing,
Self-deprecation.
absolutely.
That's your
Hatred
vibe.
of oneself. That's my mantra.
Oh, boy.
Just predicting that that's life is a disaster. Yeah. I started writing a book many years ago that's sitting there. It's about 3/4 written. I mean, it's probably 200 pages I've written already, called Jian's Pathetic Stories. And just like stories of pathetic things in my life, like things where have just turned out disastrous for me. Yeah.
Is the title going to be Everything's a Disaster?
No, the title is Jian's Pathetic Stories, but maybe everything's a disaster.
Everything's a disaster.
Yeah. Maybe a podcast. Everything's a disaster.
Yeah.
Change the name of this podcast. But the manifest. No, I'm partly being facetious. Obviously, I do see the merit in not walking around 24/7 saying everything's a disaster. I mean,
For
it isn't.
sure.
And for being grateful for the things we have, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for the air we breathe, you know. but the manifesting thing, it's gonna take a long time to change my personality enough to understand that, because, and I'm, as I said to those guys, I have friends who are like, as soon as I say something, they'll be like, you're manifesting that. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends who, you know, same thing. They're very positive on manifestation and they believe in it wholeheartedly. And honestly, I see it working for them. I just don't know if it's something that
I don't see it working for them.
believe.
That's my point. The people who are often saying that are miserable. They're they're depressed people. They keep saying, "Oh, I'm manifesting to be positive and whatever," and they go home and they put up, I don't necessarily see it working in action. I'm sure in some cases it's true, and I do know some people who are wonderfully positive all the time, and maybe they're manifesting that. But yeah, I don't mean to be too cynical about it. That's my mom. My mom is texting us during
About
the
the
show
turkey.
about the turkey. Actually, yes. She's saying, what time are we doing Christmas dinner? Thank you, Pegah.
Thank
Happy
you.
Christmas to you and your
Christmas to you
family,
as well.
and all of those of us that celebrate Christmas.
Yes.
Thank you to our team, and thanks to the amazing people who put this show together, obviously. You can hit the theme, Super P. You can hit the theme right now, because we got to get to turkey. We got to go eat some turkey. Thanks to all of you out there who are watching us, listening to us, and join us every week. We do have... Oh, this is our last show of 2024.
2024.
Next show is January 2nd.
Yeah, it'll be next
This
year.
was a special Tuesday show, as I said at the top of the show, that instead of a Thursday. So 9 days from now, it'll be our next show will be in 2025. And actually, we have a beginning of the year special on 2025. Remember Rook Live for February 6, 2025. Thanks to our amazing team, Super Parisa, Smart Pegah, Savvy Roham, Tina, the photo and video queen, Seppi Wonder, Bearded Omi, Talented Anahita, Methodical Kave, Solid Samin. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us. Do subscribe if you haven't done so already. Find us on Instagram at Rook Media. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, Mizun Bashi.